Hi everyone, my name's Akaya. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm not gonna waste any time, so please do not click off. I actually scripted this video for TikTok and I filmed it for YouTube. What I mean by that is that I saw a topic on TikTok and I was like, oh my god, let me make a response to that. So I was scripting the video, but as I was scripting it, I was like, this would also be great for YouTube. So I continued to script it for TikTok, but I'm filming it for YouTube and then I'm just going to repurpose it on TikTok, if any of that makes sense. But the topic at hand is basically this creator she asked the question, why is it that as a mixed race woman, I cannot identify as freely as mixed race men? I believe I have a good response to that as to why that is, and I hope that you stay throughout this whole video, listen to it to the end before you give your own commentary or response. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I am a biracial black person. This is another biracial black person. This is another biracial black person. I just want to talk about how it feels like men who are biracial black people get to freely identify as whatever they want, and women who are biracial black people get constantly invalidated in their identity. Not to say that these men have not experienced any of that at all. I'm sure they have. However, in an interview, J. Cole was asked if he's received any pushback for his background, and he said, not at all. Not at all. I'm jealous. I'm truly jealous. Because the way it feels like biracial black men get to identify and decide their identity, I feel like biracial women do not get that same grace. And anytime I want to talk about black issues, I get a lot of, you're white, why are you talking about this? And I'm just wondering why that is.
Her question may lead you to believe that it's some form of misogyny, but it's actually not. I have quite a bit to say, but I'm going to try and break it down in a timely manner. Also, when I say mixed race, I'm referring to people who are mixed with black and another race, because this video is in the context of black people. One more thing, we say mixed race in the UK, we don't really use the term biracial. So there was a creator who responded to her video, and his answer was that it's because mixed race women are loud and obnoxious about it. Really good response. I recommend you check it out, but let's go deeper. Okay, I think it's safe to assume that when the OP asks why is it that mixed race men get to identify how they please and I don't, what she meant is that how come they get to be black and I don't? We already know the benefits of being a mixed race person in society, specifically if you are white. All mixed race people, no matter your gender, are able to leverage this aspect of your mixed identity. An example of this could be Drake being seen as more palatable and likable to the general public audience in comparison to dark-skinned male rappers. The difference between mixed race women and men is that on top of this advantage, mixed women are able to leverage their identity within the black community in ways that their male counterparts cannot. In general Western society, there is a hierarchy of masculinity which is called hegemonic masculinity, and within the structure there is an ideal that men are socialized to strive towards, to adhere to. Men who do not fit this ideal are subordinated by the ones who do, and women are also subordinated under this hierarchy, but by default because we are women. In Western society, the people who are the visual representation of this ideal man, this ideal form of masculinity, are, you guessed it, heterosexual white men, which is where mixed race men's advantage comes from, because they are closer to whiteness. In the black community, however, there is also a form of hegemonic masculinity, but the ones who represent this ideal amongst us are heterosexual dark-skinned black men. This is why mixed race men are able to exist more freely within the black community without their blackness being challenged, because they pose no threat to the social order of black hegemonic masculinity. In fact, they tend to be subordinated by dark-skinned black men through emasculation, often being referred to as soft or weak. When it comes to idealized femininity, however, dark-skinned black women do not represent the standard. A paper which I always recommend is Black Bodies, White Bodies by Sander L. Gilman, which sheds light on how female sexuality was perceived in the West. He explained that black women represented everything that white women shouldn't be, all the way down to how our genitals looked. Essentially, when it came to femininity, black women and white women existed on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And within the black community, it seems like the position of mixed race women almost mirrors white women's own in this hierarchy of femininity. I just want to quickly divert for a little bit that you should check out my video on Kunyaza, where I talk about different African sexualities and notions of femininity, because I know that this stuff sounds really negative and disheartening for dark-skinned black women. But in that video, I actually debunk these silly Western notions of who we are as women and also celebrate our sexuality. Please do check it out, but I digress. So getting a glimpse into these social structures, what that creator said about mixed race women being more obnoxious about it makes more sense, because it is a privilege to be a mixed race woman in the black community. You often experience pedestaling from black people, especially black men, simply because of your skin tone. And when you have a looser curl pattern on top of that, that's extra privilege. So it's no wonder that they can be obnoxious about it. And to answer OP's question, I think it's fair to argue that this is exactly why mixed race women may experience pushback from other black people for identifying as black, specifically from dark-skinned black women. Please don't use this to paint dark-skinned black women as being jealous or anything, or the light-skinned versus dark-skinned debate. Let's not do that. It's unnecessary and it's distracting. Instead, I want you to understand why many dark-skinned black women might feel this way. When there is a gendered hierarchy that keeps you at the bottom in terms of your beauty, your femininity, your sexuality, your overall womanhood, it is very easy to be erased. A very cliche but good example of this is the natural hair movement, which has been around since the 1960s but didn't really go digital until the late 2000s, early 2010s. If you were there during the early to mid 2010s, you know exactly what happened. Light-skinned women with looser curls were more visible. The early YouTubers were the most popular and visible. The early influencers were getting the deals. It had gotten so bad that I remember a really popular natural hair blog that did a whole feature on a white woman who had type 3 curls. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of the blog, but it was something along the lines of acceptance as a white woman within the natural hair community. And I remember how it rubbed me the wrong way, because black women always want to be so damn inclusive. It had gotten to a point where white women were now infiltrating the space just for having curly hair, when the movement in the early 2010s was a celebration of a specific hair type. Yes, there are many black women who are my complexion or even darker who have way looser curls, but you see that kinky, coily type 4 leaning more towards type C, tightly curled, woolly, fluffy hair. That kind of hair is usually associated with black women, especially black women who look like me. And that was who the natural hair movement was for. Yet often it felt like we were invisible due to lack of representation. I suggest reading this article from 2016, which highlights some of the problems of the natural hair movement during that time. The natural hair movement is a prime example of when black women are too damn inclusive and allow anyone to identify as them, it leads to their erasure. Once again, I'm not saying this to create some sort of us versus them. I'm saying it to provide nuance, so you can understand why black women gatekeep the image and identity of black women more so than black men gatekeep the image and identity of black man, because it is a necessity to their survival within a social hierarchy that keeps them at the bottom. It is a necessity to them reimagining and recoding their identities how they see fit, through their own eyes. So to answer OP's question, that is most likely why you as a mixed race woman will be received differently in comparison to your male counterparts. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Okay, so that's all for now. Another low lift video in terms of like research, because these are things that I already know, so I didn't really have to do much research. But obviously the scripting and filming this, setting everything up, and the editing process is still going to take time, but not as much as my videos that require much more research and are also longer. But if you want to see more videos like this, you know, more less than 10 minutes kind of videos, where I speak about different topics in between the more bigger videos, then do let me know. But yeah, I'm gonna go now. See you next time. Thank you guys for being so patient once again and for sticking with me. And that's all for now. Bye.